Good evening. I'm Adventure Argonaut. This is the Golden News, a special broadcast because of the squirrel situation. Peanut, the squirrel, who was unjustly murdered by the authorities in New York a few days ago or whenever it happened. And this is just gonna be a fairly short stream since I only have this one topic I want to discuss about, but I wanted to make a special. I think uh, the squirrel Peanut deserves it. But first, I have to fiddle around with Rumble, get it to work. Wait a moment, please. Okay, let's see if it works. Yes, okay. So all the streams are running. So without further ado, let's never forget who they took from us. And us, I'm not American, but still, it touches even my distant heart. the squirrel situation. So without further ado, let's just get to some of the basic facts. So, New York wildlife officers raided Mark Longo's home, seizing his rescue squirrel Peanut after complaints about unsafe squirrel housing and wildlife gone wild hit the department. Peanut is in an internment is an internet sensation. Internet sensation. Damn, it's late here. That's my excuse for being retarded. Is an internet sensation known for donning cowboy hats and sharing waffles with cats. The raid, which Longo described as overkill, also led to the confiscation of Fred the raccoon. With nearly 20,000 supporters rallying to free Peanut, Longo, who's been legally certifying Peanut as an educational item, fears he may already be gone. Poor little guy. So yeah, there's some videos of the guy, so I'm not sure if he had like a YouTube channel or Instagram or what. I've never heard about this Longo guy or Peanut before, but when this tweet was written, clearly they thought that the squirrel was alive, but presumably also Fred the raccoon has been murdered by the New York authorities, as was the squirrel. And he seems like a happy squirrel. He seems to like the guy and stuff. Like, okay, he's a bit too kissing it a bit too much, so that it's a bit weird. But I'm sure there's nothing else to it. Even Elon Musk tweeted on it. Orphan squirrel who became social media star was euthanized after being seized from home. How is he being euthanized? Like, if this is murder or killing, whatever, but it's not euthanized. Euthanized implies that it was suffering, and well, yeah, it was probably suffering after they took the squirrel from its home. And as I understand it, the squirrel, he was like injured or something, and then this guy took him home. I think he has other animals too, and he nursed it back to health, and he tried to return the squirrel back to the wilderness, but he couldn't really handle it anymore. He was too domesticated, so he took care of him, and rest is history. And any normal person in any normal era would just think it's like, oh, it's sort of cute, or like, maybe they don't care. But I think it's insane because they supposedly he didn't have a license for a wild animal. So then it's better to murder the animal. Like fine. Like I could accept the argument in the sense that if if the authorities could take better care of the animal or release it to its natural habitat or something, that would be understandable, but they just killed it, and that's not like the only time. I've heard similar stories from PETA in America, They supposedly kill a lot of animals, and even though they whine about, you shouldn't drink milk or eat meat or anything, it's just like, oh no, drinking milk is so horrible. So it's completely these bureaucracies. They are truly evil. They are not just, they they cross the threshold from being simply, incompetent or a waste of resources to just being plain old evil. And just to illustrate that it's not simply like, even this incident is America specific, but it's not like this sort of behavior is not excluded to America, because like during the pandemic, the UK briefly considered killing all pet cats early in the pandemic. Yeah, so it's the, because they thought that they're gonna be spreading the virus or something. They didn't do it, but it's highlights something about the mindset of these bureaucrats. They are either completely insane or evil, delusional. Pick your whatever word you prefer. And just to go back in history, the British Pet Massacre. It was in 1939, in the beginning of the Second World War, and the British butchered roughly 400,000 cats and dogs because they wanted to save food, so their pets wouldn't eat food, so they would have food for the World War II food shortages. And I have mentioned this fact in a prior Golden News video, I believe, and I think it's evil. It's insane. And not to forget, like Mao in China in the similar era. I guess it was a bit later than this. He had a bunch of birds killed, and then the birds didn't eat the bugs, and the bugs ate the crops and stuff. So this sort of bureaucratic evil insanity is global, if it takes hold. So let's move on. So this is the director of the New York Department of Environmental Conservation, which is responsible for murdering Peanut the squirrel, and her name is Karen. So yeah, it's like some stereotype from some movie from, like, DDR, from East Germany. Nowadays, DDR means Dance Dance Revolution, but back in my day, it was Eastern Germany. So DEC, the Department of Environmental whatever fuckery, congratulates Captain Karen Bridgelek, the first woman ever to serve as director of our division of law enforcement, the 20 blah blah blah. So yeah, somebody made a good, this comment. Every time something bad happens, it's always followed by the first woman to ever serve. Yeah, that sums it up. Just look at this, the face of evil. And this is supposedly the woman who reported the squirrel to the authorities, Monica Kessler, some sort of influencer, and now she's, if this is the woman, has deleted all her social media. And this is of course a foul person, but in some sense, I do have some understanding for her, because I do understand that society, often it has all sorts of you know wacko people who like to complain about things. However, it should be the authorities that ignore them if they have unreasonable complaints or requests and so on. But they didn't. They actually listened to her and went along and murdered a squirrel. And yes, the woman supposedly lives in Texas, and the squirrel lived in New York. It's not like it was in her neighborhood. And the authorities, like, he didn't have a license, it could spread rabies or whatever excuses I've heard, but it's like plenty of people have pointed out, there's there are hundreds of thousands of rats in New York and all sorts of, like, one domesticated squirrel is not going to harm anyone, and it's completely stupid that a squirrel, a guy who can clearly take care of the squirrel, is not allowed to do it because of not having license. It's like, it's the old argument of the letter of the law versus the spirit of the law. And these bureaucrats and this Karen woman, well, this Karen and this spiritual Karen, they clearly they don't understand the spirit of the law, only the letter of the law. Like, of course, there's some sense to having laws that you shouldn't keep wild animals for, or so you don't try to have a farm of like hundreds of squirrels or whatever, or abusing animals. But I don't think this guy was abusing the squirrel, except with excessive kissing. uh, and I don't think the squirrel had the T virus. I don't think it was turning into a zombie, so I don't think there was any good reason to kill it. Yeah, the government has murdered Peanut. Yeah, it has been euthanized. They shouldn't. This is a misuse of the word euthanize. I have a bunch of articles and memes and stuff here. Just gonna go through them. Okay, and there's name names, shall we? Here's the commissioner of the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, Sean Mayhar, who has locked down his account. He makes $220,000 a year to murder pet squirrels. So yes, look at this evil man. It sort of reminds me of like some Star Trek character, like Neelix or something, but just more evil version, like even more evil than Neelix or something. I can't quite put my finger on it. Yeah, there's something wrong with this face. Basil Segos, funny name. Yeah. Yeah, this is Karen. And these are the other people, supposedly. The people behind the assassination of America's most loved squirrel have either deleted or private their accounts. They look like psychopaths who enjoy wielding power even against something so arbitrary as a squirrel. Yeah, so these Sean Mayhar, they don't have their names. I don't know if there are any common factors in them, besides, of course, the place they work. I don't know. Maybe there's like something similar in their look, but can't quite put my finger on it either. And yeah, just another blast from the past. Michigan woman charged with caring for wildlife without permit, animals killed by state officials. This is I remember this story, and I'm glad that this meme guy reminded of it. So here's the article. This is from 2021. So yeah, Michigan wildlife officials charged a woman for taking care of wildlife without a permit and seized 6 animals from her refuge and killed them. So yeah, she had the Keiju farm, Julie Hall. She got a warning and blah blah blah. So yeah, it's the farm, known in the community for its work rehabilitating wild animals, was a refuge for goats, chickens, alpacas, donkeys, horses, and other wild animals. So they got a complaint, and yeah, they seized and killed 6 of the animals. So which animals they actually? The animals include a small deer that was taken in the fall at around 2 weeks old, Sassy, a half-blind raccoon with Down syndrome. Like, okay, sure, in one sense, if you're a eugenicist, and I don't mean it necessarily in a pejorative sense, maybe it makes sense to kill it, but it's also like, I don't know, it's like kicking down when you're down. Oh no, I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it in a sense of the pun, down, down. I really okay. And for a one-legged crow, a child had brought in. So yeah, it's like If they could live in the, I don't know if they actually cause um, some terrible disturbance in the community, because it's like, they say that, wildlife is raised, sometimes let it go to become a nuisance, and disease issue falls when it gets to mating season. It can be very dangerous to people and other animals. This bug was found and had to be euthanized because it was a danger to the public. It's like, maybe, but I'm still a bit suspicious. I wouldn't trust them. It's like, and anyway, that this is an old story. So the point is, like, they took the animals. She was taking care of them, and they were killed by the authorities. And once again, if she isn't qualified to take care of them, the government should. But like, I don't know why don't we do this to same kind of practices to incompetent bureaucrats then? Like, if they cannot fix society's problems, why don't you take care of them using similar methods? And here is this article: how a squirrel became a rallying cry of the far right. After the lawful removal of an illegal pet in New York, right-wing activists called to arms. By Ellen Lewis. Except this is actually a fake image, or an altered image, or a meme, or whatever it is. I'm not sure what the ultimate purpose behind this, but I've seen few people sharing this. But apparently, like, I tried to do an internet search on the headline as well, and I couldn't find anything. So perhaps, or probably, it is fake, but it's still, because it is a believable headline. And that speaks a lot. Especially, I haven't really seen any, like, left leaning, like, blatantly left leaning people speak up against this injustice. It's either, people who are not very political, or more right wing, or whatever. So it's not completely inaccurate in that sense, especially since nowadays anybody who shows any degree of decency or common sense is labeled right wing. So, in that sense, it is very right wing to stand for the rights of the squirrel. And like this, the MAGA squirrel deserved to die. And I've heard that this Jen Rubin, she is, was it Washington Post writer or journalist? And she has, of course, deleted the tweet, but internet is forever. So, and why is it a MAGA squirrel? Like, these are your, compassionate leftists. Like, you should have no compassion for them. They want you, your children, your pets, and anything that is natural or wholesome destroyed. That's what they want. Uh, I love it when they do the meme. So let's read the meme first. You care more about a squirrel than George Floyd? Peanut wasn't a drug addict and never held a pregnant woman at gunpoint. And conservatives are silent when a person of color gets killed by the cops, but are having a literal meltdown over a squirrel. Well, yeah, I guess I should address it. Like, why does it matter? Like, in the grand scheme of things, the life of a single squirrel might not be a big deal. However, it does highlight call it the banality of evil or whatever. But it's like, unless, some revelation comes out that the squirrel was clearly happy, he was healthy, he was taken care of, but the authorities, simply because it broke some law that, didn't doesn't really matter, or make doesn't make any sense, the authorities took away the squirrel and murdered it simply because it, disobeyed the law. This is like top Orwellian bullshit, or whatever. Like, this is evil. Like I've said many times, but it is like, just like, and because, like, these leftists, like, mostly it's been, leftists like this. This clearly is some sort of leftist. They've been They always say that illegal immigrants, whatever, or they're free to break the law, or like whoever can vote, you don't have to have an ID or whatever. But when a squirrel is with somebody has a squirrel without a license, like, oh, they broke the law. It's sort of like with the Kyle Rittenhouse case, like they were arguing that he crossed state lines, like as if it's even a crime to cross state lines or something. And there's this meme, white people when an innocent squirrel dies, and then is of course footage of the mustache man and the National Socialists. And this is a funny meme, but it does speak to something deeper, I would say. I'm going to discuss it a bit later. Okay, and there's this meme. You sleeping? Brain asks, trying to. Peanut the squirrel was investigated more than any single Epstein client. And I think that's. Well, I don't know if it's true. It's possible that some Epstein clients were investigated, but they weren't, mm, tried or anything. Like maybe they did gather data, like the FBI, but they just didn't accuse them or of anything, or like threaten them with any legal recourse, whatever. And even Donald Trump Jr. Tweeted about this. The squirrel heard around the world. It's time to vote out a government that will kill a pet squirrel, but will gladly allow 600,000 criminals with 13,000 murderers and 1,600 rapists knowingly into their country. And it's like, well, I'm not against people voting against this government, but I think more should be done than simply voting. And don't tread on me, the peanut the squirrel, Gadsden flag. I hope you are all aware that the squirrel was in that home illegally. Yeah, another some leftist. So a third of the residents of New York City. Yeah, it's like they only care about the laws when it suits them, but otherwise it's like, no human is illegal and no squirrel is illegal. It shouldn't matter what the law says. It was clearly, a man was taking care of an animal. The animal seemed happy. So unless you can disprove this scenario that it was untrue, then then the animal should not be murdered. Describe your political leanings, me, for peanut. Yeah, this. I think this is like, I don't know, the most profound political image ever, because it's like this is very simple black and white scenario that a child could understand. Killing the squirrel is wrong, and if you don't understand it's wrong, there's something wrong with you, and maybe you people like that shouldn't be allowed to make any decisions in society, like if they don't understand that it is wrong. And it symbolizes the great injustice of contemporary Western society, that things like this. you know Peanut the squirrel is murdered by the authorities, but there's all sorts of more heinous stuff going on that the authorities don't do anything about, whether it's human trafficking, like Epstein, or mass immigration and the crimes committed by certain immigrants and so on. And so yeah, I'm for whatever is for peanuts. Definitely, that's my political leaning as well. And there's this, who of the animals and squirrels and enacted laws against animal cruelty. There's the Austrian artist guy with the squirrel, and I do think this is not like AI generated, like it's an actual photo from, like 80 years ago or whenever. And You can say many things about that, like, but if these people like this who are pro squirrel murder say that being a Nazi is the worst thing ever, it's like, okay, maybe there's actually some point to what this guy is hinting at. And I'm not a fascist or a national socialist or anything, but like, stuff like this is like, wait a minute, like, at least this seems like a preferable thing to whatever we have now. And maybe you find it disturbing, but just think how disturbing things are right now. Because I do know that back in the 30s they were some of the first environmental governmental policies were enacted in this guy's country. And also, Kim.com, he asked Grok, the AI, who is or was the most squirrel friendly political leader. The most squirrel friendly political leader, based on available evidence, would likely be Adolf Painter. He is one of the few leaders documented in a photo with a squirrel and enacted early animal protection laws reflecting a formal stance on animal welfare. It's like, yeah, because these people, these leftists nowadays, they really do seem to hate anything natural, anything wholesome. And it is natural and wholesome for a human being to take care of an injured animal, and then the animal grows attached to him, and that's very normal. That's very humane. But these people, they lack that humanity. So yeah, I made a few memes too with AI. I just wrote federal building burning, and the squirrel. It's like, if this is the society that they kill innocent squirrels, domesticated squirrels, then it's the society deserves to burn. There has to be a revolution or something. Evil must be opposed. And I said it before, but like, it might seem frivolous or silly, and to a certain extent, certainly it is. People are having fun with this, but it's like, if this is what the government is willing to do, like, they're willing to murder an innocent squirrel, what other heinous stuff are they willing to do or have done already? And just think in your own country, not just in America. I've never been to America or anything, so, but it's clearly affects us all. Like, this squirrel is a fucking martyr. Like, he died for our freedoms or something. It's like, how sick do you have to be as society to just go take away the squirrel? Like, what did it actually do to harm people? Like, or at least, if you can argue that it was a nuisance to the neighbors, maybe he caused a lot of noise or something, or I don't know, climbed onto the neighbors' balconies and took a dump there, and at least there's some sort of argument to be made. But yeah, it's insane, complete insanity, and we should never forget this, as it's a symbol of all the insanity in the world today, all the unnatural cruelty, and all of that. I don't know. That's enough ranting for one night. I'm Adventure Argonaut. I thank you for watching. Bye bye.